Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3, Tatarigoroshi. So last time it was a very sad episode, right? We saw Satoko's situation with her uncle and we saw how Irie and Keiichi is basically powerless. Like Keiichi wanted to do something, but he couldn't. He was basically shouting there, right? And Irie was holding him back. So let's see what happens in today's episode. So let's start it. Continue. I went home and washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. But that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally, I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mom's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate and she would stubbornly deny the abuse and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to do. In the end, that meant I was going to wait and see too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Maibara, would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported to the public agency like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year they decided to do just that and the situation improved temporarily. But then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year it was her uncle. I just had to see him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt, no, not that subtle, he was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. You're too naive, Keiichi Maibara. However heroic it may seem to report what was happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking then, tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I didn't or hadn't realized it until Rena said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw, thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I've never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family is really wealthy. I mean, yeah, Keiichi's family is really wealthy, right? When, in chapter 2, right in the ending when he got stabbed, they put him in a nice hospital. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few rooms my dad used for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that may have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone packing on everyone else's food, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner though, that would have to be up to mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to the New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. And if I got that far, I should ask Mion and Rena to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Rena got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto the others. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through it. Oh, but it wouldn't be only the food expenses. There were a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mom was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think only about food expenses. I needed more money. Hey wait, Keiichi Maibara, since when was all this about money? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permissions first, right? You can have all the money of the world, but if your mom and dad says no, then you cannot bring her here. And will Satoko even come with you here? They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maibara. And you realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the cops. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maibara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
I felt frustrated. I believe my feelings were stronger than anyone else. I even thought they were stronger than the coach. And yet, at that point, there were 2 knocks at my door and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯ってずっと呼んでるわよ。
あ、うん。今行く。
Someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I'd shamelessly thought of it as a responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that a natural thing wasn't actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant the privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on the table right now, for Dad, Mom, and me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another plate at the table. Think, Keiichi Maibara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that, I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. You're gonna bring Satoko here and put her in a room and your parents is not gonna know? I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remember right, If you climbed out of the window, then shimmied down the first floor roof or the gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Sadako's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it would be even easier for her. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I'd only have to bring Satoko to my house, and the public agency said they would wait and see. In other words, if Sadako's uncle continued to be her guardian, if in such a situation word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, and so my parents would have had to hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but you gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say. Problem is, Keiichi's thinking about all of this, and remember when Irie and him was talking last time, right? Satoko is not gonna leave. She's not gonna go with you. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the second floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. It might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. I could at least teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room while I was gone. I think. You think. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? If my parents did come, thanks to where the second floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming from the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimate like a few seconds that she would be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what will she do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her on my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Oh, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go without 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays after all. Every night I'd pretend though I had a bigger appetite, then ask for a bigger helping. And then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. As it says, I stood up from my seat with my plate of fish in my hands.
どうしたの、ケイチ。ご飯は座って食べなさい。
うん。ちょっと気分が変えたくなってさ。自分の部屋で食べてもいいかな。
ボロボロ落として汚すぞ。食事は食卓で食べなさい。
うん、ごめん。
Okay, hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle out food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, I like how Keiichi's thinking about all of this and then, yeah. You cannot continue with this plan. This is not gonna happen. Okay, for example, let's say my parents are coming up with the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I open the closet. Clutter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, wait, didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Or were the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem, I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into the closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. But the more worried about that, or the more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it would be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet so obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. I might need to set up a portable toilet like a chamber pot, I guess. What? Satoko would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about the toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in and then tore at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. But if I was to shelter Satoko, I would need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle, so I wanted to think. It got so hard to breathe, so I caved in and crawled out of the closet. Oh, I wonder what Keiichi's gonna do here, man. Like, is he gonna kidnap Satoko and actually force her to live here with him? Like, yeah, with all this planning and stuff he's doing right now, right? I looked at the clock and to my surprise it was 3:30 in the morning. It had felt like it was so little time, but it was unbelievably long. When I realized that, I slammed with a terrible urge to sleep as if the time had only just caught up to me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it and I fell flat on my futon. I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I need to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute or even a second longer than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? The one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought, there were a lot of blind spots in what I'd considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow, I would suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow, and Rena was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satoko once again with everyone helping out. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. Damn, this whole part here was Keiichi planning on what he wants to do with Satoko. But yeah, I mean, when you want to rescue someone, you always think of this stuff, right? But in reality, it's so hard to do. The ceiling blurred into the view. It was so hot. There was a thin layer of moist sweat on me. The voices of the cicadas permeating my room were somehow grating to my head.
レ、今日 日曜日じゃないよな。
I remember today was a weekday and quickly brought myself to consciousness. And then finally I leaped out of bed. The clock read a little before 10. I was totally late. When I wandered down the stairs, my mom would get mad at me. There was nothing I could do though. Wait, why did your mom wake you up though? After reviewing the schedule for the school day for a moment, I suddenly rearranged the stuff in my bag, hurried and get dressed and went downstairs. There was no sign of my parents anywhere. Maybe they went out somewhere together? So that's how it was. My mom had probably woken me up once this morning, but then I fell back asleep without remembering it. And my parents, thinking I had gone to school, left. Something like that probably happened. I went to the front door and as I expected, it was locked. Locked like I was right. It was further evidence of my speculation being correct. When I realized my parents weren't here, I suddenly felt less like I had to rush to get to school. There was one portion of breakfast left in the dining room. Probably mine? The milk they poured in it had gone warm since a while ago. When I realized how hard it would be to sneak food for Satoko. Yesterday, I had cried. Well, thinking back on it, food wasn't the only option in that regard. I wasn't in a position where I could care for Satoko by myself anyway. It's such a heavy thing to save a single person. I'd seen this on TV and in comics all the time. Those feel-good words about how you'll save your friends for sure and such. Was that why I ran my mouth like that, swearing to save her because I wanted to feel good about it? No, that absolutely wasn't true. Because the fact that I couldn't save her. Because I didn't want to think like an adult, like I couldn't do anything but watch. Had Satoko gone to school today? I immediately realized that was meaningless or a meaningless question. Whether or not she did, there wouldn't be a change in the environment she'd been placed in. If I couldn't save her and then no one else could either, then we could only pray for a miracle.
俺たちは無力か。
With a vague goal of getting to school in mind, I sluggishly put my shoes on and stumbled out of the front door. I had only overslept by 2 or 3 hours, but the sunlight and air felt completely different from how they usually were in the morning. Well, of course they did. Once 10 o'clock came around, you could barely call it a morning anymore. I didn't feel like walking the same old route to school. I needed to ultimately end up there, but it was like I didn't want to choose the shortest route, the most proactive one to get to school. Putting it in a more positive light, maybe I wanted some time to walk by myself and think. I had to go to school, partly to make sure Satoko was safe. But I hadn't come up with any plans. Nothing since last night. So the path I took from my house was in the complete opposite direction. If I went this way, I'd pass Rena's house and the dam site. It would be quite a detour. I calculated how long of a detour it would end up being, then, satisfied with the answer, I started to walk. Rena had brought me to the dam site a few times. One section of it had turned into an unlawful oversized garbage dump, and Rena really liked going fishing for junk in there. Without that, she'd come off as a completely normal girl too. We haven't been back to the dump right in a long time. It's been in chapter 1, so it was quite a long time, yeah. I can think of a few other qualities she could do without that, but whatever. The view quickly opened up wide and I was hit with a strong wind. There was no shelter here at this big dam site. Maybe it was a good thing I came here though. At the very least, it was more healthy to think about stuff in a place like this instead of my cramped bedroom. I took a deep breath and filled my lungs with the rich cold air unique to Hinamizawa. Ring. I turned around reflexively. It was a bicycle bell. Considering where I was standing, I don't think they were trying to get me out of the way. They'd rung the bell because they wanted something from me?
いやあ、申し訳ないね。
Oh no, it's Tomitake. He's here.
君、ひなみ沢の人だよね。
Also, they haven't met yet?
そうですけど。
I've seen this person around a few times. Right, I remembered. His name, I think, was Tomitake, a freelance photographer who lived in Tokyo. His name, I think... Okay, I was gonna say it again. He would zealously visit Hinamizawa every season to take pictures, or so Mian and the others told me, I think.
古出神社ってここからどう行けばいいか教えてもらえないかい？マップを宿に置いてきちゃったみたいでね。困ってたんだよ。
ここから神社ですか？
I knew where everything was in my head, but explaining how to get there was difficult. I was a little irritated at having been bothered before this, but I realized it meant my detour actually meant something. That feeling faded quickly.
教えてもいいですけど、ちょっと口で説明するのは難しいですよ。一緒でよければ連れて行ってあげますけど。
え？それはかたじけないね。助かるよ。あ、でもいいのかい？君の用事は。
Tomitake-san finally appeared to have realized how strange it was for a student like me to be here at this time of day. I smoothly told him not to worry about it, then turned my back and started walking towards Fear the Shrine. Tomitake-san hurried to turn his bike around and came after me.
ごめんごめん。気にしないでくれよ。男には組織を離れて一匹狼になりたい時もあるんだからね。
What a free mind freelancer. It was easier for me too that he was under that impression.
僕は富武。フリーカメラマンさ。専門は野鳥と風景。まだまだ無名だけどね。
It seemed absurd for him to introduce himself when I was just showing him to the shrine, but he gave me his name, so I needed to give him mine back.
前原圭一です。まあよろしく。
圭一くんかい。よろしくね。
He seemed like a pretty silly man, but that felt kinda good considering I'd been suffocating with worry over Satoko all night. Along the way, Tomitake-san spoke at length to me about how precious the nature in Hinamizawa was, and how it was a treasure trove of rare wild birds despite my not having asked. I wasn't interested in what he had to say, but he seemed to be enjoying himself, so I left him to it.
この石段を上がれば神社の境内です。
ありがとう。助かったよ。ああ、ちょっと遅刻しちゃったかな。
As Tomitake-san mumbled to himself, he left his bicycle nearby and started to climb the stairs quickly. I didn't have a watch, but as far as my internal clock could guess, it was still a little late in the morning. School wasn't very far from here. Maybe I could kill a little more time until then. With that in mind, I went up the steps in pursuit of Tomitake-san. When I reached the top of the long staircase, I arrived at the wide open shrine grounds that were too grand looking for the tiny village. Tomitake-san, oh there he is. It looked like he was supposed to be meeting somewhere here. He's gonna be meeting Takano for sure. Then he got lost and ended up being late. He was bowing to a lady who must have been the person he was meeting. That lady, I knew her. This minx, it's her. It's the evil one.
あら、前原くんじゃない。こんにちは。今日は学校はお休みかしら？
あれ？なんだ、圭一くんついてきたのかい？
別にそんなつもりはないですよ。ただちょっと時間つぶしがしたかっただけです。
重役出勤とは優雅なものね。さすがは有名人。今から大物ぶりを発揮してること。
What was I, a celebrity? Well, she did say my name out of nowhere anyway. I was oddly concerned about what she meant by famous.
あら、私の名前はまだ思い出せない？
高野美代さんだよ。村の診療所に勤めてる。圭一君は健康そうだから、あまり病院のお世話にはならないかな。
せっかくお知り合いになれたんだから、今度病気か何かできたら、ちょっぴりだけサービスしてあげようかしらね。
Oh. This lady named Takano-san, I kind of didn't remember her. Maybe we'd passed each other on the street a few times, but I was pretty sure this was the first time we'd talked. Well, this is Hinamizawa. Even if I don't know a person's name, it's not unusual for them to know mine. I glanced at Takano and saw she had a bag and a camera.
ひょっとして二人とも写真仲間ですか？あ、それで待ち合わせを。
仲間でなんてとんでもない。素人の私に二郎さんが優しくてほどきをしてくださるだけなのよ。ねえ。
そんなことないよ。高野さんは飲み込みが早いからね。僕の指導なんかなくても実に自由に撮影をこなすよ。本当さ。
I couldn't tell which of them was ahead in the conversation. Well, they were certainly one couple you wouldn't get tired of
い
watching.
よいよあさってが綿流しね。今年はいい写真が撮れるといいんだけど。
明日の設営シーンからレンズに収めるつもりだよ。そういう準備風景からもお祭りの活力を捉えたいんだ。
Oh, I just remembered. There was some village festival called Watanagashi or something the day after tomorrow on Sunday. Also, Watanagashi is gonna happen soon.
ひなみ沢の守り神、お社様に感謝するため、古い布団を積み重ねて供養する、そんなお祭りでしたっけ？
あら、ご名答。前原くん、引っ越してきたばかりにしては博識ね。そう。お社様に感謝するためのお祭り。
Takano-san smiled somehow meaningfully, but didn't tell me what part of the festival to think Oyashiro-sama needed to be laughed at.
やれやれ。高野さんは。でも、どうだろうね、今年は。
2度あることは3度ある。そしてもう4度あったのよ。5度目がないと言える方が何の根拠もないと思うけれど。
I knew what they meant by their whispered exchange. On the day of the Watanagashi, a freak that always occurs, which people call Oyashiro-sama's curse, and the disappearance occurs that people call being demoned away. These strange events had happened 4 years running, and Watanagashi rapidly approaching the day after tomorrow marked the 5th.
村の旧敵にたたりをなすお社様か。今年もあるとして、果たしてその矛を受けるのは誰になるだろうね。あ、僕はここに来るたびにちゃんとお参りしてお賽銭を入れてる。僕じゃないことは確かだよ。
あらそう。近年のお社様は異邦人には特に厳しいって話よ。引っ越してきたばかりとはいえ、前原くんはちゃんとひなみ沢に住んでる村人だけど、二郎さんは毎年来るだけのただのよそ者。さーて、今年は見逃してもらえるかしら。
ひどいな。
And then he's gonna die again, right? By clawing his throat yet again. Tomitake-san was the only one with the pained grin, but we all were smiling, me included. Oyashiro-sama, the one who used a curse to kill people involved with the dam construction project one after the next. He killed the dam construction manager, killed Satoko's parents for supporting it, and the next year he killed her aunt. If the demoning away is part of the curse, then you could add Satoshi to the list of victims. As I thought about it, I realized that in a serial freak death incidents, the overwhelming majority had the last name Hojo. Half the deaths and disappearances had come from the Hojo family. The Hojo family lived here in Hinamizawa. Did that mean Oyashiro-sama punished and cursed them particularly harshly because despite that, they had been in favor of the dam?
サトコのおじが帰ってきたって話は聞いてますか？
Takano-san, who had been enjoying a few words with Tomitake-san, was caught unaware by my sudden inquiry.
あ、ごめんなさい。今なんて？
いえ、サトコの両親がたたり殺されて、おばもたたり殺されて。だったら順番的には、次はおじの番かなって思ったんです。去年のたたりで、おばが無残な死に方をし、それに恐れをなして町に逃げていたやつですよ。お社様は確か、村を捨てて逃げ出そうとするのは許さなかったですよね。
I hadn't intended to be quite this persistent, but those words, they just flowed out of my mouth without me thinking about it. Right. Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't believe in something so unrealistic, of course, but the fact was that every year, unfortunate accidents and incidents happened to enemies of the village. Like Takano-san said, just now it happened 4 times. No one could say there wouldn't be a 5th.
ふーん。面白い説ね。確かに過去の犠牲者を見れば北条姓が多いのは事実。その延長として考えれば今年は叔父が死ぬか消えるかする可能性は否めないわね。
もう高野さんは起こるかもしれない不幸を笑うのは良くないよ。
ごめんなさいね。でもお社様のたたりは私のライフワークだし。
Takano-san gave off a mysterious, somehow intellectual impression, and her life's work was mysterious in its own right. She probably really liked inexplicable supernatural phenomena or something.
高野さんはお社様のたたりに詳しそうですね。どうでしょう。北条の帰ってきたおじがたたりに会う可能性は。
あら何？そのおじさんを殺したくて仕方がないみたいね。
そんなんじゃないです。
どうだろうね。神様の気まぐれ次第だからね。
前原くん、サンタクロースの正体は知ってる？
I got a strange question all of a sudden and I couldn't immediately answer.
なに？知らないの？
We got a new CG again, look. The amount of CGs in this chapter.
パパよ。みんなの家のパパ。
なんだ。そういう意味ですか。そりゃそうですよ。どんなものの正体だって最終的には人間です。だってここは人間しかいない世界なんですから。すべての現象は人間で解明できるはずです。
I felt like I put that somewhat strangely, but Takano-san was not as dissatisfied with that reply as I might have guessed.
あら、その年齢のうちからそれに気づけるなんてなかなかね。人間の世で起こる現象はすべて人間の都合で人間が起こす。
Strange things that happen in the world of man are all caused by man for his own benefit. I will remember this. Okay.
では前原くん、もう一度尋ねるわよ。今度はサンタクロースじゃなくてお社様。お社様のたたりの正体は何かわかるかしら？
Is it you? Takano-san took a step towards me and gazed into my eyes as she asked. Santa Claus was really the parents of every family's children. If lionizing the legend was a corporate tactic to try to profit during Christmas, then what was Oyashiro-sama really?
と、
あら、あなたが言ったのよ。ここは人間しかいない世界だって。すべての現象は人間で解明できるって。
圭一君、ここだけの話だよ。高野さんはね、お社様のたたりをめぐる一連の連続開始事件をね、ひなみ沢の村人が何かの儀式に基づいて行っている人為的殺人事件でないかと見ているんだよ。
誤解しないでね。私はそれに至る教義や思想、文化を民族学的見地から研究することがライフワークなの。別に犯人が誰かなんてことには全く興味がないのよ。そこだけ勘違いしないでちょうだいね。
I could tell only that she was saying some crazy stuff. To use food analogy like you'd force feed a duck to be fattened, she forced her words down my throat. That's what it felt like.
そもそもそれを理解するためには、ひなみ沢村が鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていた古代にまで遡らなければならない。鬼と血を交わらせたと信じる半人半鬼の仙人たちが。
Takano-san, having entered her home field, leaned forward and began to speak of ridiculous matters. Tomitake-san realized she was overawing me and interrupted me. Or interrupted for me, I mean.
高野さん、その話をいきなり圭一君にしても、ほら、彼も面食らってるよ。
あら、そう？続きに興味があったらいつでも言ってね。前原くんくらいの年頃の男の子が好きそうな猟奇的なお話がてんこ盛りなんだから。
ありがとうございます。気が向いたらそのうちに。
For now, I softly and safely gave my refusal. Takano seemed a little unhappy that Tomitake-san had rained on her parade, but she stopped talking about it then. Even so, it was still a very interesting story. That Oyashiro-sama's curse, which he thought of as strange freak deaths, were really homicides, perpetrated by the people of the village.
まあ常識的に考えればそうですよね。たたりなんかで人が死ぬはずない。誰かがたたりになぞらえて殺してるに決まってます。
I mean, that's what I still believe until now, yes. I always believe that people are the ones doing this.
そうね。それが誰なのかは研究しない方が無難ね。
高野さんは知ってそうですね。証拠はないまでも確信を持っているくらいには。
あら、どうしてそう思うのかしら？
I just kind of felt it vaguely. It didn't seem like her extreme passion for this research would calm down just because these things are taboo or because it was safer and easier. This person loved walking through the profound, forbidden abyss of risk and taboos.
それくらいにしなよ、圭一君。せっかく助けてあげたのに、またお社様のたたりの話が始まっちゃうよ。涼しいうちに散策に行きたかったのにな。
Tomitake-san seemed a little disappointed not to be able to go on a date he'd planned since I had brought up a weird topic. But right now, there was something I wanted to ask just for a little bit. And that was about whether Satoko's uncle will be chosen for the curse this year. If he was, then another miracle would happen just like last year. A terrible incident would happen again, but it would release Satoko from her unfortunate circumstances once more.
まあもちろんおそらくあの辺りの人たちが関わってるんだろうなっていう憶測は持ってるわよ。鬼ヶ淵村の歴史を研究していれば自然と至る必然的結末。
それは誰です？
What would I do if I knew? I asked that question to the other me deep inside, but I got no reply.
熱心ね。それを知ってどうするつもりかしら？
別に。
知ったらあなたにも危険が降りかかるかもしれないわよ。5年目のたたりはあなただったりして。
Takano-san toying with taboo gave a devilish satisfied smile as though nothing in the world would be more amusing. She was probably trying to tease me, but I didn't feel like going along with her little game one bit.
偉そうな能書きでもったいぶってますが、高野さんだってよくは分かってないみたいじゃないですか。
I had felt a tinge of irritation at Takano-san's roundabout way of speaking, but these emotions escaped my mouth like water flowing through a strainer. Even I was surprised at how directly I had spoken about what I felt. Well, of course, I wasn't the only one taken aback.
あら、言ってくれるわね。坊やなのに長髪までできるの？意外に野生的ね。嫌いじゃないわよ、そういうの。
Takano-san's tongue poked out of her mouth, and I was convinced that it was long, thin, and split in the middle like a snake. She is a snake, man. Yes.
ならいいわ。教えてあげてもよくってよ。でも、教えてあげる前に3つ誓ってもらうわ。私が何を教えても後悔しない。口外しない。私が言ったなんて絶対言わない。
I gulped firmly and nodded. Tomitake-san made an exaggerated expression of distress, gave a dry, vague smile, and lit a cigarette.
教えてください。たたりを下しているのは誰です？たたる相手を選んでいるのは誰なんです？
And after I said that, I finally realized why I wanted to know. Oh, what? Her face though, look at Takano's face. But yeah, let's continue. Wait, what? We left? Why did we leave? Okay, many of my classmates were playing freely in the schoolyard. A few of them had just run out of school building after putting on their shoes and tapping their toes on the ground. It looked like they had just finished eating lunch. From a time manipulating standpoint, I guess I succeeded.
前原さん、大丈夫なんですか？
A few girls noticed me and came running over. It was only natural they were worried. You'd think if someone wasn't there in the morning, they'd be out of the rest of the day.
まあその遅刻さ、気にしないでくれ。それより聡子はどうだ？今日は来てるか？
These girls or the girls exchanged glances. I saw a thin shadow fall over their faces and knew the answer without needing to hear them reply. Sadako was absent today too. When all was said and done, after being out for 3 days, she'd only come back for 1. And now she was out again. Who knew if she would come tomorrow?
でもさとこちゃんから電話があったって先生言ってました。
風邪って言ってたよね。みんな家に帰ったらうがいをちゃんとしましょうって先生言ってました。
Wait a minute, Chie-sensei? That's a little too thick-headed, don't you think? You're a teacher, aren't you? Why can't you be more sensitive and catch on to the fact that your pupil is sending you an SOS? But even if she did, there was nothing we could hope for. The most she could do was a home visitation, and she didn't have any right to take Satoko from her uncle into safety. No matter the result, it would end up just like the public agencies, with a wait-and-see attitude. It would just piss Satoko's uncle off, and her suffering would only grow deeper. Then wasn't saying she had a cold the best option?
そうだな。みんなも風邪に気をつけろよ。もう行っていいぜ。昼休みはまだ長いぞ。
The girls excitedly scattered into the schoolyard. Rena was yelling out the classroom window, waving her hand. A moment later, Mion and Rika-chan poked their heads out too.
圭一までお休みしましたから、とても心配しましたのですよ。でもよかった。顔色もそんなに悪くないし、とりあえず元気そう。
I felt a little uncomfortable with her saying that I didn't look sick, but I didn't care that much.
どうしたの？寝坊？
遅刻は遅刻だろ。それとも電車の事故で遅刻したとでも言えば許してくれるのか？
寝坊？
Mion was being a bit persistent. Was she going to put on her club president cap and scold me for being late? Well, maybe she didn't have it in for me, so I briefly stated that she was right.
まだね、お弁当あるよ。みんなで食べよう。やっぱりね、圭一くんがいないと盛り上がらないよね。
さとこは休みなんだな。
Even Rena, feigning cheerfulness, couldn't stand to hear that and her face darkened.
朝、電話があったらしいよ。風がぶり返したから、また休むってさ。長引くかもしれないって言ってた。かわいそうなので、みんなでお見舞いに行こうという話が出ていますのですよ。
何言ってんだよ、リカちゃ
Hmm.
ん。
Not pleased with Rika-chan wearing a wide smile as though it was a happy occasion, I threw cold water on her. What?
さとこが風邪なんかじゃないことは俺たちが一番知ってるだろ。たとえ冗談でも二度とそういう白々しいことを言うな。次は怒るからな。
Rika-chan furrowed her brow, looked down, and mumbled an apology.
圭一くんだけじゃないよ。みんな辛いよ。
俺だけが悩んでるなんて思ってない。でもみんな何もできないのは本当だろ。
それはそうだけど。でも。
I got the feeling I would cause another fight if this exchange went on. So I apologized first.
ごめん。謝るから今の話は忘れてくれ。辛いのはみんなも同じだよな。ああ。
It was at least clear, however, that I was the only one who had worried so much about rescuing her. At the very least, everyone else probably got the normal amount of sleep last night. Probably had good dreams too. They definitely hadn't stayed up all night thinking so desperately.
登校してきていきなりこんなこと聞いて
気を悪くするかもしれないけど、ケイちゃん、今日遅刻したよね。サトコが今日欠席したこととは関係ある？
は？ミオ、お前何の話してるんだ？
ケイちゃんはたまにちょっとつ盲信なところがあるからね。今朝サトコと一緒にケイちゃんも休んだ時、サトコを家から連れ出してどこかにかくまったんじゃないかって本気で思った。
Easy for you to say. If I could have, I'd done that last night. None of them had really thought about how difficult that clear as day solution was. I was up thinking all night, thinking until the night was brightening. And then I concluded that I couldn't do anything.
バカかお前。人間一人かくまうなんてできるもんかよ。
そうだね。ごめん。気を悪くしたなら謝るよ。
別にいいよ。それより飯にしようぜ。腹が減ってんだ。
I took my bento box out of my bag. Everyone moved to make a spot for me to sit.
前原くん、今来たんですか？
And just as I was about to stick my chopstick in, Chie sensei came along.
あ、はい。遅刻してすみません。寝坊しまして。
What the heck? Even the teacher was giving me the strange look.
お弁当を食べたら、院長と前原くんは職員室に来てください。ちょっとお話がありますので。
Probably about Satoko, I thought. Sensei left it at that and then went back out in the hallway.
弁当を食うまでもないだろう。行こうぜ、ミオ。
そうだね。
Mion and I exchanged looks, nodded to each other, and got up.
さとこちゃんの話だろうね。
No doubt about it. They were saying she had a cold, but everyone in class knew the truth. I didn't think that wouldn't have reached a teacher's ears by now.
僕がずっととぼけるので、僕に聞くのをやめたのでしょう。
Revealing the truth to the teacher would only worsen the situation. Was that why she hadn't said anything? Or was it because she was Satoko's friend and knew that she was trying to endure the trial of her uncle's abuse in order to get her brother to come home?
どうする？今のうちに私たちなりの統一見解を出した方がいいかもね。
リカちゃんはどうしたい？
Satoko's closest and best friend was Rika-chan. However much I pretended to be her Nini, it didn't come close to the amount of time they'd spent together. So I felt like her opinion should be held in the highest regard.
俺はサトコがどうしておじにいじめられてるのを耐えてるか知ってる。
Everyone looked startled and turned to me.
昔のサトコはいじめられるときっと泣きながら兄の背中に隠れてた。でも結局そのせいで兄が逃げてしまったんだとサトコは思ってる。
誰に聞いたのかな？
監督か。
I nodded quietly.
サトコはおじのいじめに耐えれば兄が帰ってくると信じることによって今を耐え抜こうとしてるのかもしれない。でもそんな思い込みとサトシが帰ってくるのは全く無関係なことだ。サトコには悪いがそれが現実だ。
Everyone hung their heads. everyone was thinking the same thing.
サトコは多分誰の助けも喜ばない。自分一人の力で耐え忍びたいと思ってる。でもそれを尊重してやるのが果たして正しいだろうか。俺は思わない。一時サトコに恨まれることになろうと、サトコの意志にかかわらず助けるべき時があると思う。俺はそれが今じゃないかと思ってる。
I told them all about what I saw and how I felt when I went to Satoko's house yesterday.
ケイチ君は話すべきだと思ってるってことだね。
もちろん公的機関への通報でサトコが保護されるのが確定してからだ。その確認のないうちはサトコをかえって危険にさらすこともありえるからな。
難しいね。先生との会話の中でその確約ってのが取れるわけ？
I had no confidence, but we had to try. Meanwhile, Rika-chan in her hand raised for a while as if asking for an opportunity to speak.
ケイチに任せますです。
いいのかい、リカちゃん。
ケイチはここにいる誰よりもサトコのことを考えていますです。そのケイチが話すべき時だと判断したなら、僕は文句なんか言わないのですよ。
ありがとう。ミオンもレナもそれでいいか。
Mion seemed to hesitate, then knowing she would agree. But when I saw Rena's firm nod, she made her mind up and did the same.
よし。行くぞ、ミオン。
うん。
Okay, let's go. Only Chie-sensei was in the teacher's lounge. We didn't see the principal anywhere. The schedule on the blackboard under the principal's name said training, going straight home. Our principal's sense of justice was too strong. Satoko's problems wouldn't be solved with something so vague. Maybe it was a stroke of good luck that he wasn't here. When the teacher saw Mion and I come in, she closed up her curry bento, saving the rest for later. Curry again?
そこへおかけなさい。
She told us to take a seat in the chairs directly in front of the principal's seat. I hadn't sat in this chair since doing the paperwork for transferring in. The two of us sat there uncomfortably before the teacher walked over carrying a notebook and a ballpoint pen and sat in front of us.
前原くん、今日は午前中お休みでしたけど、何かありましたか？
すみません、寝坊です。
本当に？
先生に嘘言っても。
She narrowed her eyes at me in suspicion. No, or now I was sure of it. She wanted to talk about Satoko.
まず、二人とも知ってると思いますけど、お友達の北条さんがここしばらくお休みしてますね。
Neither Mion nor I had anything to say in response. But the teacher proceeded, not minding.
何か知っていますか？クラスで良くない噂をしている人たちがいます。
Mion looked down and remained silent as though she were being lectured. She sent me a quick glance. Everyone had made up their minds. They'd be leaving things to me.
委員長？前原くんも。先生は別に怒ってるんじゃありませんよ。もしも知っていたら教えてほしいとお願いしているだけです。
先生、先にこっちから質問してもいいですか？
She She must not have anticipated that response. She looked surprised.
クラス中で聡子のどんな噂が飛び交ってるかは知りませんが、仮にその噂が真実だったとして、先生はどうするつもりですか？
どうするもこうするも、その話が本当なら放っておけません。
放っておけないって、具体的にはどう放っておけないんですか
？Sensei's eyebrows shut up. Maybe I said it like I was trying to pick a fight.
前原くん、先生は真面目にお話ししてるんですよ。
先生こそ、俺はすごく真面目な話をしているんです。まず答えてください。真実だったとしてどう放っておけないんです？
Sensei took a few breaths then began to speak slowly.
まず状況を確かめるために北条さんの家を家庭訪問します。
おじに怒鳴りつけられて追い返されるかもしれませんね。まあいいや。仮におじと聡子に会えたとします。それで？
そして真意を聞きます。その事実が確認できたなら指導します。
指導って曖昧な言い方はやめてください。具体的には何をするんですか？
Even despite my tone being so proactive or provocative, Chie-sensei bit back her emotions and listened calmly. I thought then that she was a good teacher. Chie-sensei really did have her students' best interests at heart, but she didn't have the power or authority to save Satoko. If she let her sense of justice run away with her, the situation could get more complex. Sensei folded her arms, and for a few moments, she closed her eyes as though mentally concentrating. And then when they opened again, there was a strictness in her eyes I'd never seen before.
児童福祉法という法律があります。この法律で児童に対する虐待は何人に対しても認められていないことが明記されています。
らしいですね。それで？
沖宮の生活相談所へ通報します。さっき前原くんは追い返されると言いましたね。この相談所の職員は必要に応じて警察官を同行させることができます。恫喝には絶対に屈しません。
その福祉士というお役所の人は連絡して書類で申請して何日後に助けに来てくれるんです？
即日です。彼らの仕事は児童の安全を緊急に保護することですから。
知ってますよ。緊急性があると判断された場合ですよね。認められなかったら先生と同じ指導をして様子見をするんですよね。見てるだけ。聡子のおじの機嫌を悪くして聡子をその場に残したまま、それっきり。
ケイちゃん、ちょっと言い過ぎ。
嘘はついてないだろ。去年だか一昨年だかに児童相談所が来た時がまさにそうだったんだろう。その結果どうなった？俺よりもミオや先生の方がよっぽどよく知ってるだろうが。
I had said too much and it didn't need to tell me that. I was talking crazy and itching for a fight. I was supposed to be telling her about the situation only after I was sure we could save Satoko, but I basically told her everything right from the start. Chie-sensei looked at the clock, stood up, and picked up the phone at the principal's seat.
もしもし。内線の3455をお願いします。
3455?
いいの？ケイちゃん。本当に大丈夫かな？
It was too late. The die had been cast. Now we could only pray.
お世話になっております。ひなみ沢文庫教諭の千恵と申しますが、指導室の渡辺主事はいらっしゃいますでしょうか？はい、ええ。ちょっと急用がございまして、 至急校長と連絡が取りたいのですが。はい。お願いします。緊急とお伝えください。よろしくお願いします。
The teacher put down the phone and tilted her head back and took a breath like I always did.
二人にもう一度だけ聞きます。クラスのみんなの噂はすべて本当なんですね。
はい。俺は昨日、聡子の家に行って、実際にどういうことになっているのか見ました。
あとは、先生に任せてください。聡子ちゃんは、きっと先生が何とかします。
なんとか？いい加減なことを言わないでください。なんとかじゃない。絶対でなければならない。もしもまた様子見なんてことになったら、先生はどう責任を取るつもりですか？
Okay, that ring is so loud. While I was yelling, the phone rang. Chie-sensei snatched the receiver up first.
もしもし。あ、研修中申し訳ありません。はい。実は、例の北条聡子さんの件でお話が。はい。
Sensei waved at us, telling us we could leave now. Mion went to leave, but I held my ground. I had the responsibility to make sure she stopped saying such vague, ambiguous things. If it didn't look like she was going to say anything substantial, then I'd tell them the truth, even if I had to steal the phone from her.
はい。いえ、まだ相談所には。はい。まだ確認はしていませんが、クラスのこの話では相当な様子です。
相当なんてもんじゃないぞ。すぐにだ。今すぐ何とかしろ。通報するならどこへだっていい。でもな、もしも様子見なんてことになってみろ。ただじゃ済まさないからな。
I yelled angrily at Sensei and the principal on the other hand, or on their end, I mean. I wanted to somehow, some way, convey to them just how dangerous her situation was right now.
それは分かっています。ちゃんと伝えますから。委員長、前原くんを連れて教室に戻りなさい。
あ、はい。行くよ、ケイちゃん。あとは先生たちに任せよ。
絶対だぞ。
Until the very last moment, I glared at Sensei. Chi-sensei was feeling pressured by the likes of me. Idiot, this isn't the time to feel pressured. Now's the time when you give me a firm nod to reassure me. Even so, we already left things in our hands. At this point, we really can't do anything but pray. Bang! Mion shut the door to the teacher's lounge. There's some curry right there, look. But yeah. It is very different, I suppose, the way we're having this kind of stuff right now. No, what I mean is, like, when we shift to, like, the other parts, right? Or the other half of the chapter, right? The creepy part. Like in the first two chapters, it become a little bit creepier and creepier, right? Scarier. But for this one, it's, yeah, more or less Keiichi doing what he can to try and save Satoko. Article 2, definition of child abuse. The term child abuse means the following acts committed by a custodian, meaning a person who exercises parental authority, a guardian of a minor, or the other person who is currently engaged in the custody of a child. Hereinafter, the same shall apply. Against a child, meaning a person who is under 18 years of age, or hereinafter, the same shall apply. Assault the child in a manner that will cause or is likely to cause external injury on the body of the child. Engage in indecency against a child or cause the child to engage in indecency. Substantially reducing the amount of food for the child or abandon and neglect the child for a long time, period, in a manner that may interfere with the normal development of the child mentally or physically or otherwise materially fail to perform the duty of a custodian, or Number 4, speak or behave in a manner that was significantly traumatic to the child. Article 3, prohibition of child abuse. No person shall abuse a child. Act number 82 of 2000. Authored by the Minister of Health and Welfare. Okay, that was it. Statistics from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Year 19. Principal abusers in case reported to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Osate 0. Total 5,352. Mother by blood. What do you mean mother by blood? 2,943. Wait, what? Mother not by blood. Ah, okay. 203. Father by blood, 1,445. Father not by blood, 488. Instances by the type of abuse in cases, okay. Total 5,352. Physical abuse, 2,780. Neglect, abandonment of child, 1.728. Psychological abuse, 458. Forbidden from going to school, 75. Sexual violence, 311. Okay. But yeah, I mean, very long episode we had today. So yeah, it's pretty much just Keiichi continuing and thinking of ways to save Satoko, right? The first part, and then here the last part at school as well, right? And in the middle part, it was with the Wonder Twins, I suppose. Tomitake and Takano again. We saw them yet again, right? But yeah, I guess we will just continue this in the next one. We will see what Keiichi does, right? It's hard to think what he will do, honestly. I cannot give a theory. Maybe he would kidnap Satoko, right? Like he said, like what he was saying earlier, like, oh, then he's gonna put him in his room, etc., etc., that. But right now it's hard to say. Or maybe he's gonna confront the uncle itself. Because yeah, that's gonna happen one way or another. Either confrontation or Keiichi is gonna take Satoko. Like, one of those two. It's not gonna be like this about this series, right? Like it turns scary and creepy. So one of those two is gonna happen for sure. And yeah, Watanagashi hasn't happened yet, right? Let's see if Watanagashi is gonna happen and then Tomitake is gonna die again. But I think it's close now, right? I think they said it's gonna be like, well, like tomorrow or something like that, or the next day. But let's see. So anyways, we're gonna continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3, Tatarigoroshi in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye-bye.